Welcome to Mind Files Minutes. Today we're looking at affirmations and why they don't work for people who have suffered abuse and trauma. Have you tried doing the affirmation thing every day? Did it work for you? For anyone who has suffered a lot of abuse and trauma, the answer is likely yes. I tried affirmations and a hard no when it came to them working. It's frustrating, right? So why does it work for some people and not for others? Because in the filing cabinets of the mind of a person who's suffered a lot of abuse and maybe even trauma, the file that deals with who you are is not housed in your love cabinet. It's likely a file that's so big, so stuffed with anger, resentment, and hurt feelings, and all things negative, that it fills entire drawers, or 3, in your fear cabinet. We want our I am mind file to be full of positive affirmations about us. Things like, I got this, I'm powerful, I'm awesome, I can do anything I set my mind to. And there are definitely statements like that in the I am mind file. But if you dig a little deeper into that mind file, you're probably going to find narratives that describe doubt. Statements like, why did I do that? Or why did I say that? I don't know if I can. What if I fail? And probably lots of files with anger and maybe even rage, depending on the kind of abuse you suffered. Wherever there's anger and rage, there's also blame. Statements like, they did this to me and they took this from me. It's all so-and-so's fault. And while that's partly true, especially if you suffered abuse as a kid, it's absolutely reasonable to blame the person who inflicted the abuse and be angry about it. And if the abuse was chronic and severe enough to be classified as traumatic, then it's also reasonable and justified to be filled with rage. There could be thousands of narratives in the I am mind file that remind you of all the reasons why you aren't. And all of these narratives have intense negative emotions attached to them. Trying to shift that entire mind file with positive affirmations? Well, at best, it's a band-aid, a temporary solution. You might be able to silence the doubt and the anger temporarily, but eventually, those intense narratives will regain control of your thoughts. Mind files with narratives that have a lot of intense emotion attached to them are heavy burdens to carry. Eventually, when the burden finally gets to be too much, you'll reach that point where you can't take it anymore. And then you know it's time to make a choice. You can stay on the same miserable road, or you can choose the off-ramp. Lots of self-help gurus don't like to tell people how hard it is to shift your life, but I'm not going to lie to you or mislead you. Resolving abuse and trauma is hard work. When it comes to hard work, most people aren't willing to do it unless there's a reward at the end. Well, the reward is you, a better you, your life. Are you ready? Because if you want a quick fix, then you're not really ready to resolve your past. You just want relief from the pain. Then you should keep doing affirmations. Who knows? Maybe they'll work. But if you've tried them, and maybe a lot of other things, and still didn't get to where you wanted, then you need to look for a new method to add to your toolkit. Because it absolutely is possible to live with legitimate joy and peace and lasting contentment. So let's take a brief look into the I am mind file of an abused child. Many children are neglected. Their parents, for whatever their reasons are, don't spend quality time with their children. The narratives start to add up, and the ones that go into a neglected child's mind files looks kind of like these ones. Some children grow up in extremely strict homes where they're constantly in trouble for one thing or another. The narratives that go into that child's mind files are similar to the neglected child, but then there's extra ones. As kids, we're not capable of understanding the actions of our peers, let alone adults. We barely understand ourselves. Some kids, no matter how hard they try, they just can't fit in. Team sports can be good, but sometimes they can create scenarios that result in intensely negatively charged narratives in the I am mind file. Maybe you tried as a kid to be good at sports. Maybe you were pressured by your parents or your coaches. And if you tried, but maybe you weren't good at it, you probably got bullied by your teammates. Now, maybe you were good at sports, and that caused your parents and or your coaches to pressure you to the point where you developed a serious fear of failure. I know some adults who were really good at hockey when they were kids. Their fathers pressured them so much, telling them that they just had to work hard and then they could be in the NHL. But the fear of not living up to those expectations and the fear of failure drove them into addiction. Now, some kids were sexually molested or assaulted by their coaches. That is an intensely charged narrative, which will also be duplicated in other mind files, by the way. And that increases the overall intensity of the emotions housed in your fear files. The fear cabinet adds up. It doesn't matter what the sport is, whether you're a boy or a girl, those negative narratives add up. And let's not forget about family dysfunction, and that's unlimited possible scenarios. In my case, there was big narratives that my family latched onto. They thought that they were protecting me. But that protection kept me from living life. And let's not forget, some kids had negative experiences with authority figures. And if that experience was multiplied, then there are some seriously intense narratives in the I am mind file, as well as in all those other mind files. Painful experiences that happen more than once aren't just housed in one mind file, the I am mind file. There could be hundreds of mind files with similar narratives, which means that the emotions attached add up and become extremely intense. I hope you're beginning to understand why it isn't so easy to shift your life with positive affirmations if you suffered abuse and trauma. But hang on, because that doesn't mean it's impossible. Sometimes acknowledging, reviewing, and reassessing one really intense narrative inside a mind file could resolve multiple mind files. That's good news, right? Abuse and trauma can be healed through a mind, body, and spiritual approach. It just takes a little effort and a little self-discipline. If you heard something here that was that little aha, Give me a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. Let me know what you think. Leave a comment. Follow me on Facebook at Aces High or on Instagram at Aces High Book. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. See you next time.